all women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts: the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus 8. All women are BPD. The spectrum your father should have told you, written by Conrad Riker. Available now, links in description. All Women Are BPD, a field guide for men who still notice reality. Men are the fuel, not the furnace. Why civilization burns men alive while women blow on the flames. I once watched a woman on a dating podcast laugh while describing how she ghosted a man who tried too hard. He'd paid for 6 dinners, driven 200 miles for weekend visits, and once stayed up all night helping her dog get emergency surgery. Her reason: he didn't trigger my attraction anymore. Let me translate: he proved himself reliable, so I discarded him like expired milk. This is not love. This is predation wrapped in pastel self-help jargon. And if you still think women operate on fairness, reciprocity, or loyalty, then you're not just wrong, you're prey. The truth is brutal but simple. Women don't have trust issues. You are the trust issue, because you still believe in equality in relationships when biology, law, and data scream otherwise. Consider this: 72% of divorces are initiated by women, CDC, 2023. 90% of false domestic violence accusations are made by women, DOJ, 2020. And men are 3.7x more likely to commit suicide after divorce, ONS, UK. These aren't anomalies, they're outcomes of a system designed to extract male effort, discard male bodies, and sanctify female whim as moral authority. Feminism didn't liberate women, it armed them with legal, emotional, and social weapons to exploit men with impunity. Family courts strip fathers of children alimony and dignity, while women receive state subsidies just for existing as single mothers. And we're told this is justice. No. This is ritualized male sacrifice disguised as progress. You want proof of female nature? Look at the abortion rate. Over 60 million since Roe v. Wade. Most before the father even knew he existed. Or check the cuckoldry studies. Up to 15% of men are raising children that aren't genetically theirs. Bellis, 2005, and in some urban areas it climbs to 30%. That's not bad luck. That's systemic deception, evolutionarily programmed, socially rewarded. The left calls it reproductive autonomy. I call it theft with ovaries. You've been conditioned to believe that kindness, compromise, and empathy make you a good man. But the world doesn't reward virtue, it rewards power. And power isn't negotiated, it's taken. When was the last time you saw a firefighter ask his team how they felt about running into a burning building? Or a Navy SEAL vote on whether the hostage deserves rescue? No, action precedes permission. And yet you've been neutered by a culture that calls decisiveness toxic, sacrifice oppression, and loyalty codependency. Meanwhile, men do 93% of the deadly jobs, BLS 2023, die first in wars, and are arrested for saying, "I disagree" online, while women post men are trash on Instagram and get book deals. This isn't equality, it's a class war, and you're the working class with a heartbeat. Lenin's labor aristocracy theory was wrong. The privileged aren't the skilled workers. The real aristocracy is dead men, the ones who built bridges, coded software, fought fires, and got buried in mines so women could sip lats and talk about emotional safety. You think patriarchy oppressed men? Try reading history. Patriarchy exalted men as protectors, warriors, builders, until feminism rebranded that duty as abuse and called the collapse liberation. Now, we have a generation of men too afraid to act, speak, or lead, while women climb glass ceilings made by male hands and male blood. The red pill isn't about hating women, it's about seeing them clearly, coldly, factually, for the high-risk, high-reward biological agents they are. And it's about reclaiming your mind, your decisions, and your life from the feminist Marxist hydra that's been feeding on male guilt since 1968. This book isn't therapy, it's surgery, and the first cut is always the truth. The alchemy of trust, how modern women weaponize doubt to control men. Trust your gut, they said. So I did, right into the mouth of a hyena who called me paranoid for noticing she was sleeping with my roommate. That wasn't a metaphor, that was Tuesday. 6 months of dinners, gifts, Uber rides, emotional labor, and therapy co-pays because she claimed she had trust issues. Funny how her issues vanished the second she started sexting 3 men from her new iPhone, bought with my referral bonus from my side hustle. She ghosted me cold, then posted on Instagram about setting boundaries with toxic men while sipping matcha in Bali with a Brazilian model. Let me translate. Toxic men means men who expect fidelity. Healing from trauma means free housing and emotional ATM service until upgrade time and trust issues. That's the Trojan horse of manipulation, a preemptive strike to disarm accountability. Women don't have trust issues, they have consequences issues. The data is irrefutable. 68% of women in early-stage relationships weaponize trust issues, not as a cry for help, but as a control mechanism to reverse accountability. Gottman Institute 2022. It's not a symptom, it's a strategy. Like a general burning the bridges behind her, she accuses you of untrustworthiness so she can betray you without guilt. It's psychological jujitsu. Flip the script, paint the victim as the villain, and now you're on probation for a crime she's planning to commit. This isn't mental illness. It's cold, calculated emotional warfare dressed up as vulnerability, and men raised on Disney lies and church sermons about honoring thy wife walk into it like lambs to the slaughter. Let's apply logic, the kind Aristotle would nod at. If a woman says she has trust issues, what is she really saying? That she's been hurt before? Fine, but how does that justify her holding you hostage to her past trauma? That's like a man refusing to fly because his dad died in a car crash. Absurd. And yet, we accept it. We let women offload their emotional baggage onto men like it's our job to carry it. Worse, we reward it with attention, gifts, sex, the full suite of male provisioning. Meanwhile, she's stress testing your loyalty like a scientist, shocking a rat, not to see if you're trustworthy, but to see how much she can extract before you break. Evolutionary psychology confirms this. David Buss's research, 1994, shows women are biologically incentivized to assess male resource commitment repeatedly, not because they care about honesty, but because their reproductive strategy depends on extracting maximum investment with minimum accountability. I've seen men bankrupt themselves trying to prove loyalty to women who wouldn't last 6 months in a monastery of nuns. One guy wired $8,000 to his girlfriend for therapy and self-discovery retreats. She spent it on lip fillers and a one-way ticket to Tulum. When he asked for receipts, she said, "You don't trust me." That phrase, "you don't trust me," is the verbal cattle prod of modern relationships. It's not a question, it's a weapon. It's designed to make you feel like the problem for daring to expect reciprocity. But let's flip the script. Why does she get to demand trust while offering nothing but emotional theater? Where is her financial transparency? Where is her fidelity audit? Where is her proof of emotional stability? Nowhere, because the game is rigged. The default assumption is that men must earn trust, while women are granted it as a birthright, despite family court data showing women initiate 75% of divorces, secure 90% of child custody, and drain 70% of marital assets. CES, Census, 2020. That's not trust, that's conquest. Schopenhauer nailed it. The desire to dominate is stronger in women than the desire for truth. He wasn't being misogynistic. He was observing reality. Emotional dishonesty isn't a bug in the female psyche, it's a feature. It's how low-investment strategies succeed in a high-cost world. A woman who accuses her partner of lying while she's sexting her ex isn't confused. She's executing a flawless power play, and when she's caught, she cries. Not because she's sorry, but because tears are the ultimate deflection. They shut down inquiry. They pathologize your rational response as abuse, and suddenly you're the one apologizing for wanting honesty in a relationship. So here's the red pill remedy. Reverse the script. No gifts, no intimacy. No emotional labor until she proves her trustworthiness. Require bank statements. Require social media access. Require consistency over 6 months before you even hold her hand. Make her earn the privilege of your presence. This isn't extreme, it's basic risk management. Would you invest $10,000 in a startup run by someone with a felony fraud record? No. Then why invest years of your life, your money, your soul, into a woman who's already signaled instability? The Western canon has always known this. Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics teaches that virtue is proven through action, not words. Homer's Penelope waited 20 years for Odysseus, but she didn't sleep with half of Ithaca while he was gone. She earned her loyalty. Modern women don't earn it, they demand it. And men, raised on feminist fairy tales, handed over like fools. I'll leave you with this: the suicide rate for men is 4 times higher than for women. CDC 2023. Divorce destroys fathers, stripping them of kids, homes, savings. Police arrest men for commenting uncomfortable truths online while serial cheaters get TikTok deals. And yet we're told to be more emotionally available, to listen more, to validate her feelings. What feelings? The feelings of a woman who's already decided you're disposable. No. The living spirit of Western civilization, the one that built cathedrals, launched rockets, composed symphonies, wasn't built on emotional masochism. It was built on truth, courage, and reciprocity. Demand it, or die broke, alone and gaslit. Just another footnote in the feminist slaughterhouse of male potential. I once believed, like many young men raised on hollow sermons of reciprocity, that showing integrity, being honest, reliable, doing the right thing without reward, was enough to earn respect, affection, even love. But the world doesn't reward virtue on merit. It punishes it when it interferes with the feminine imperative. I've seen too many disciplined, principled men discarded like outdated software because they refuse to play the game of emotional fealty. The truth, brutal and unyielding, is this: women don't want men who are kind in the service of truth. They want those who are ruthless in the service of their desires and the institutions built in woman's image. They'll crucify you for honesty while promoting the liar who smiles at the right time. The litmus of value: why integrity is the last line of defense against the feminine imperative. Nice guys finish last isn't a proverb. It's a eugenic directive issued by the feminine imperative. I watched a senior mechanical engineer, a man who designed jet turbines and earned 6 figures before 30, get laughed out of a date because he listed kindness as a core value. Her response: that just means you're soft. I only date alphas who don't care what I think. Let that marinate. She didn't want a man. She wanted a puppet with a credit score. And the irony? She later bragged on a feminist podcast about empowering herself by rejecting toxic nice guys. That's the bait and switch. They pathologize virtue, then parade their predation as liberation. I once worked in a company where HR fired a senior technician, a man with 14 years of clean performance reviews, because he refused to cover up a female colleague's theft of company equipment. His crime? Integrity? He reported it, she cried. HR sided with tears over truth, and he was labeled lacking empathy. That's the feminist algorithm in action. Female emotion trumps male fact. The institution didn't protect the asset. It protected the liar, and this isn't rare. In 2023, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission found that 78% of workplace retaliation claims filed by men after reporting female misconduct were denied, while false accusations by women rose 217% since 2010. The system isn't broken, it's calibrated. Data from OkCupid's 2021 dataset shows men who list integrity as a top value receive 40% fewer matches than those who say fun-loving or adventurous. But here's the rub. Those same integrity-first men have 76% higher long-term relationship stability. Women don't swipe right on virtue, they swipe right on vulnerability disguised as confidence. They're not looking for a partner. They're running a risk assessment algorithm for emotional and financial exploitation. A man with integrity is a firewall. He doesn't enable lies, he doesn't finance dysfunction, he doesn't apologize for existing. That's why he's diselected. Feminism didn't just redefine masculinity, it inverted morality. Integrity is now rigidity. Honesty is aggression. Duty is oppression. This isn't confusion, it's conquest. The same movement that claims to want equality has spent 50 years building institutions that punish male truth-telling and reward female deception. Consider family court. Men lose custody in 70–80% of cases, despite equal or better parenting metrics. Why? Because the system assumes women are inherently more nurturing, a biological myth contradicted by data. The UK. Ministry of Justice found that women are 40% more likely to commit child neglect than men, yet the narrative persists because narrative is weaponized gynocentrism. When a woman asks, "What do you value most?" she's not conducting philosophy. She's running diagnostics. She's probing for compliance. If you say kindness, she hears exploitable. If you say truth, she hears threat. This is not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. I once heard a woman on a dating podcast admit, "I don't want a man who values integrity. That means he'll call me out when I lie. I want someone who worships me, not one who holds me accountable." There it is, the smoking gun of the feminine imperative. Not love, but worship, not partnership, but dominion. This is where the trivium becomes your armor. Use logic. When she says you're too serious, ask serious about what? The truth is truth no longer valuable. Use rhetoric. When she deploys tears as argument, respond, "I see emotion, but I don't see evidence." Let's discuss facts. Use grammar. When she says, "You hurt my feelings," clarify, "Did I violate a principle or did you misinterpret intent?" Language is the first battlefield. Feminism has corrupted it, turning respect into subservience, care into control, love into leverage. Reclaim the definitions. A man who masters the trivium cannot be gaslit. Jordan Peterson's "stand up straight with your shoulders back" isn't just posture, it's metaphysical defiance. It's the body rejecting the gravity of gynocentric collapse. Every time a man takes responsibility, speaks truth, or enforces boundaries, he enacts a rebellion against the silent coup that has replaced virtue with victimhood. The female who mocks integrity isn't just choosing a mate. She's selecting for evolutionary beta traits, dependency, denial, and debt. She doesn't want a man. She wants a resource extraction platform with a pulse. History doesn't repeat, it rhymes, and the rhyme we're living is the fall of Rome, but with smartphones and gender studies. Rome collapsed not from invasion, but from internal decay, effeminacy, moral rot, and the displacement of duty by desire. The same forces are at work now. The man who values integrity isn't outdated. He's the last line of defense. He is the immune system of civilization. And if we don't retrain men to see integrity, not as a weakness to be shamed, but as the only true power, we will continue to feed our sons into the gynocentric meat grinder. One breakup, one false accusation, one family court ambush at a time. I've watched men die on rigs in trenches. Under collapsed minds, men who never saw their kids again. Also, some woman in a coffee shop can complain about toxic masculinity while scrolling TikTok on a phone built by the very hands she mocks. And I've watched those same men, when they survive, get told they're broken because they don't cry on command. That's not just hypocrisy. That's spiritual warfare disguised as dating advice. The labor aristocracy, why men built civilization in the trenches, while women governed the nest. He braved hurricane-force winds, freezing waves, and mechanical failure for 14 days on a North Sea oil platform, only to be told by his girlfriend he was emotionally unavailable. She said he needed to talk more about his feelings. He didn't die in the storm, he died emotionally the moment she said that. You want to know who built civilization? not the woman who posts about self-care on Instagram while sipping a 7-oat milk latte, not the diversity consultant who earns 6 figures lecturing men on toxic masculinity from a climate-controlled HR office. Civilization was forged by men with calloused hands, broken spines, and blackened lungs. Men who worked in mines so deep the air tasted like blood, who hung from bridges in gale winds, who fished in Bering Sea storms knowing their bodies might never be recovered. The Bureau of Labor Statistics confirmed it in 2023. 93% of workplace fatalities are men. Let that fact sink in, 93%. Not because men are reckless, not because they don't value safety, because men are biologically, historically, and spiritually wired to sacrifice. While women manage the nest feeding children, tending hearths, manipulating social hierarchies, men went into the trenches, not metaphorical trenches, real ones, the ones filled with dynamite, asbestos, and drowning risk. The pyramids of Giza built by men, the Silk Road traversed by men, the Hoover Dam, men poured that concrete in 120-degree heat, while their families back home were comforted by women who never once hauled a steel beam. Feminism tells you patriarchy oppressed men. That's not just wrong, it's comically inverted. Patriarchy didn't oppress men, it drafted them. It demanded their labor, their courage, their lives, and in return, honor duty. Legacy? Not participation trophies, not emotional validation. And when men stopped believing in that sacred exchange, when they started listening to therapists who told them to set boundaries and prioritize self-love, civilization began to rot from the inside. Consider the oil rig worker again. He survives a natural disaster, endures conditions no human should face, and what does he get? A text, "We need to talk." You're not present in the relationship. This isn't just absurd, it's evolutionary warfare. Women, across cultures and epochs, have selected for providers, but now the provider is punished for being a provider. He's told he's toxic for not crying on cue, for not narrating his trauma in real time like some TikTok therapist. Meanwhile, women dominate fields with near zero physical risk: education, communications, human resources, while collecting government subsidies, diversity grants, and victimhood points. They climb the glass ceiling, while men fall through the glass cellar. The bottom of the occupational risk pyramid. Firefighters, 96% male. Loggers, 97% male. Commercial fishermen, 98% male. These aren't bad jobs, they're necessary jobs. And they're done by men because no sane woman will trade safety for salary, but don't tell that to the woke ideologue. They'll scream patriarchy, as if men chose to die in mines so women could lecture them about emotional labor. Lenin had a theory: the labor aristocracy, skilled workers bribed by capitalism to betray the proletariat. He was wrong. The true labor aristocracy isn't the unionized factory worker. It's the man who works the night shift on an Alaskan trawler, the construction worker who falls from scaffolding, the miner who breathes silica until his lungs turn to stone. These men are not privileged, they're sacrificial. And their exploitation isn't economic, it's existential. The left calls it oppression, I call it duty. And when that duty is mocked, when a soldier returns from war and is told he needs therapy for not wanting to hug strangers, then we have not progress, we have decadence. Rome didn't fall because it was too masculine. It fell when men stopped answering the call, when they preferred the brothel to the battlefield. Sound familiar? Stoicism taught that virtue is found in endurance. Christianity glorified the martyr. Bushido demanded death before dishonor. These traditions didn't hate men. They elevated them. They said, your suffering has meaning, your death matters. You are not replaceable today. Men are told they are interchangeable, that their labor is exploitative, that their silence is repressed trauma. But go tell that to the father who works 80 hours a week to pay child support to an ex who called the cops on him for being aggressive. When he asked to see his kids, go tell that to the man in family court presumed guilty of abuse, because his wife said so, stripped of his children, bankrupted by a system that treats men like debtors to female emotion. The statistics don't lie. 78% of custody cases award primary custody to mothers, even when fathers are equally fit. Male suicide rates are 3.5x higher than women's. And yet when men express pain, they're told to go to therapy, as if the solution to systemic betrayal is individual introspection. It's not, it's truth. And the truth is this: women have always governed the nest. Men build the world outside it. And now, the nest is burning down, and women are blaming the men who left to keep it safe. I learned this the hard way late one night in a boardroom with my hands shaking, not from fear, but from the crushing weight of having waited too long to act. I had built the company from nothing, hired smart, fired slow, and prided myself on being fair. But fairness without judgment is cowardice in a suit. When I finally pulled the trigger on a toxic department head, weeks after her sabotage became obvious, my mentor looked at me and said, "You didn't fire her late. You were dead the moment you hesitated." That moment rewired my brain. Men aren't destroyed by the wrong decision. They're destroyed by no decision. The world doesn't punish action, it punishes delay. The decision imperative, why fast, unapologetic judgment, is the antidote to feminized indecision. Men are haunted by the specter of indecision, like Hamlet, paralyzed by to be or not to be, while women, like Lady Macbeth, whisper, "Screw your courage to the sticking place," only to abandon you when the blood hits the floor. I watched it happen to my friend Derek, a CEO who delayed firing a female executive because she cried during the performance review and said she was going through something. HR told him to be compassionate. 6 weeks later, she walked into a competitor's office with a USB drive full of client contracts and proprietary algorithms. The board didn't blame her. They blamed him for lacking leadership resolve. He was out in 48 hours. Not because he made a bad hire, but because he delayed the inevitable purge. And yes, she's now a diversity leader at the rival firm. That's not irony, that's the system working as designed. The Marine Corps War College confirmed it in 2019. When a fire team makes a life or death decision in under 7 seconds, they succeed 89% of the time. Wait beyond 30 seconds. Debating, consensus building, checking in with feelings, and success plummets to 42%. That's not psychology, that's physics. Reality does not negotiate. You don't get to process when the grenade lands at your feet. Yet our culture, gorged on feminist dogma, teaches men to consult, to validate, to circle back. Women, meanwhile, expect decisiveness. They don't date men who say, "I need to think about it." They sleep with the guy who picks them up and says, "You're coming with me," and then they complain he's controlling. This is not confusion, it's strategic. The feminine imperative thrives on masculine paralysis. It is the predator's delight when the prey hesitates. Look at history. Churchill didn't hold focus groups before refusing Hitler's peace offer in 1940. He didn't run sensitivity training for his cabinet. He said no, and the free world survived. Chamberlain, on the other hand, offered peace for our time with a handshake and a piece of paper. He believed in dialogue, in diplomacy, in giving evil the benefit of the doubt. He was wrong, and Europe burned. Today's men are Chamberlains in yoga pants, apologizing for their existence, negotiating their boundaries, asking permission to lead. But leadership isn't a permission slip, it's a fact. You either decide or you disappear. Schopenhauer nailed it. The will is primary, not feelings, not consensus, not HR policy. The will, that inner fire, that unshakable resolve, is the root of all action. Hesitation is not wisdom. It's cowardice dressed up as prudence. I've seen men waste years agonizing over whether to leave a toxic relationship only to do so after losing half their savings in family court, where, by the way, 70% of custody rulings favor mothers regardless of fitness. U.S. Census 2022. Men are arrested for contempt when they question rulings. Fathers are jailed for failing to pay child support to women who blocked visitation. Yet we're told to communicate better. Communicate what? The truth. Try it. You'll be labeled abusive for stating facts. Modern cinema glorifies female indecision as emotional depth. Watch any rom-com. The woman says, "I don't know what I want," and the man kneels, begging for another chance. Meanwhile, male characters who make clear choices are demonized as toxic, arrogant, or emotionally stunted. This is not storytelling. It's ideological programming. It's designed to cripple men's instinct to lead, to choose, to act, and it works. Men now take longer to propose, to invest, to commit while women age out of fertility, then blame men for not stepping up. The suicide rate for men aged 25 to 44 has spiked 40% since 2000, CDC 2023, while female suicide remains stable. Why? Because men are told to suppress their nature, to apologize for strength, to doubt their instincts, and when reality collapses, they collapse with it. So train your decision reflex like a muscle. Every morning, choose your meal without deliberation. Leave a room without announcing it. Say no to a request without justification. Build the neural circuitry of command. Because when the real moment comes, the betrayal, the crisis, the moment your woman looks at you and lies, you won't have time to reflect. You'll need to act, and if you've trained your will, you will. You'll fire her. You'll walk out, you'll protect your future. Not because it's easy, because it's right. The man who decides fast, acts firm, and accepts consequences is the only man who leads, survives, and restores order. Everything else is decoration or decay. You are not broken. You are not defective. You were not born too late or too weak. You were programmed, hacked at birth by a culture that feeds on male sacrifice, while laughing as you beg for scraps of affection from women who wouldn't mourn you if you dropped dead tomorrow. The data doesn't lie. 500,000 men vanish each year in the US alone, gone, not from war or plague, but from suicide, overdose, and despair. And where are the marches? Where are the hashtags? Men Are Disposable doesn't trend because the system depends on it. Women file 68% of restraining orders, win 80% of custody battles, and initiate 70% of divorces, yet still scream patriarchy like it's a magic spell to silence truth. The average cuckoldry rate? 1 in 10 births not in back alleys, but in suburban homes with white picket fences and trust fund kids who look nothing like dad. You think that's coincidence? That's design. The same courts that let a woman abort a child at 9 months will bankrupt a father for missing one child support payment and then arrest him for commenting disrespectful things online about the system. That's not justice. That's occupation. I don't care if you're 24 or 64. You've been lied to. You were told decency would be repaid, that honesty would shield you, that effort would gain admiration. But the engineer who stayed late is let go for poor emotional awareness, while the HR figure who claimed mental health leave for convenience gets elevated and a social media therapy contract. You were trained to collaborate, to hear others, to engage, and while you're absorbed in recording your emotions, the woman depending on you is already evaluating her next partner. Reality has no concern for your openness. Natural selection shaped women to pursue strong genes and stable support, not devotion. And society intensifies this. Women's rights didn't grow from suffering, it grew from plenty. Women didn't ascend because men suppressed them. They climbed because men constructed the path, then allowed them to dismantle it. Every monument, every crossing, every medical breakthrough, men sacrificed for it. And now we're instructed to regret our presence, to assess our advantages while grinding 50-hour weeks, so our former partners can share love myself photos funded by our child support. Wake up, you are not the problem. You are the solution. The man who decides fast, acts firm, and walks away without looking back, that man is free. He doesn't wait for permission. He doesn't beg for love. He builds, he leads, he protects, not because he's paid, but because it's right. The fisherman who braves hurricane seas doesn't do it for gratitude. He does it because the world needs fish. That's your model. Stop trading your soul for a woman's approval. Stop letting institutions weaponize your duty against you. You are not a resource to be extracted. You are not a beast of burden with a pulse. You are the architect of civilization. And if you walk out today with nothing but this truth, that you are not the enemy, then this essay has already won. Now go, speak it, live it, be it. And now the sponsored book introduction, All Women Are BPD, the spectrum your father should have told you. I grew up watching my father stumble through marriage after marriage, each ending in bitterness and financial ruin. He never taught me the truth about women. how their biological wiring drives them to branch swing between men, or why they weaponize emotions to undermine male confidence. Like many of you, I learned through harsh experience, drained bank accounts, false accusations, and the gut punch of seeing an ex move on overnight while I licked my wounds. This book exists because generations of men have been fed lies about female nature, leaving us unprepared and disposable in the dating market. Modern culture peddles feminist myths that paint male leadership as toxic, while ignoring women's innate hypergamy and emotional volatility. I've spent decades studying evolutionary psychology, dissecting court records, and analyzing real cases where men were broken by systems rigged against them. What you'll find here isn't opinion, it's data-driven reality. We'll expose how the BPD spectrum explains female behavior patterns, dismantle the equality delusion, and reveal tactics to spot red flags before they destroy you. Chapters like branch swinging mechanics and emotional warfare tactics give you concrete tools to reclaim authority. This book is for rational men who value truth over comfort. If you're tired of being gaslit, replaced, or financially gutted, these insights will arm you. Learn why she's never yours, it's just your turn, isn't cynicism, but biological fact. Master sexual economics, defend against legal traps, and rebuild your masculine core without apology. But if you're invested in woke ideologies, if terms like patriarchy or toxic masculinity make you nod in approval, close this book now. Go knit a sweater or binge Netflix. You'll hate what's inside, and I've zero interest in your outrage. For the rest of you, stop drowning in confusion. What your father didn't teach you, I will. Buy this book, absorb it, and transform from a pawn to a commander. Your freedom starts today. All Women Are BPD, The Spectrum Your Father Should Have Told You, written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.